感谢尤淑菲副主席。今天来到现场参会的外宾有40多位驻华大使。下面有请坦桑尼亚驻华大使凯鲁基阁下发言。
Your Excellency, Mr. Li Guiyang, member of CPC Central Committee and Secretary of Shanghai Municipal Party Committee, Your Excellency, Mr. Song Tao, Minister of IDCPC, Excellencies, Ambassadors and diplomats present here, representatives of political parties, distinguished participants, both offline and online, ladies and gentlemen. It is very hard to speak about the Communist Party of China in just 5 minutes. It is even harder when you are the last speaker. The speeches and the testimonies we have heard this evening showed us one thing, that CPC is a larger-than-life political party. CPC embodies 100 years of existence, which is equivalent to 10 decades, 1,200 months, 36,500 days, and 876,000 hours. And in all these decades, months, days, and hours, CPC has achieved a century of victory over many trials and tribulations. They've indeed passed a test of time. At 100 years, we can say with confidence that CPC has achieved what other countries have taken 200 years or more to accomplish. We can hardly mention China's success story without acknowledging the role of the CPC, which is also the largest Marxist ruling party in the world. Under its sound leadership, hundreds of millions of Chinese people have been lifted out of extreme poverty. Moreover, it has led to China's transformation from traditional to an admired modern nation that many of our countries are trying to emulate. Because of CPC, many countries in the world, and Africa in particular, enjoys an alternative narrative and model of development to learn from. The past 100 years of CPC have not only been rewarding with resounding success to China, but also they have been a blessing to the world. You will all agree with me that by its sheer geographical size and population size, China is too big a country to ignore. Any positive progress in China impacts the world handsomely. We saw this when China joined the WTO. And we saw it when China penned a Paris climate change agreement. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, China and Africa relations too cannot be celebrated without the central role of CPC. Much as we know of existed early trade contacts between ancient China and Africa, the more structured relations that exist today are by far and large attributed to the leadership of CPC. Archives has it that half a century ago, under the able leadership of CPC, the first official bilateral trade agreement were signed with Algeria, Egypt, Guinea, Morocco, and Sudan. And thereafter, it is on record that CPC leader Chou En-lai took the relation to the greater height with a 10-country tour that he made to Africa between December 1963 to January 1964. Also, CPC has played a significant role in the liberation struggle of the Southern Africa. And people have been telling stories here. Let me also add another story of CPC outside China. CPC helped Tanzania and China and Zambia to build Tazara Railway, Tansa Tielu, a 1,860 long kilometer railway line. This railway provided much needed logistical support to the liberation movements in Southern Africa. And that's why it was called a freedom railway. Ladies and gentlemen, to date, Tansa Tielu remains the greatest symbol of China-Africa cooperation, as well as historical monument and living legacy of the Communist Party spirit of South-South cooperation. This is what today we would call a community with a shared future. Indeed, these things started way back in the 1960s. Ladies and gentlemen, now fast forward in recent times, the role of the CPC in shaping China to a major country and leading to a century was vivid during the emergency of COVID-19 pandemic. CPC has taken decisive and strong measures to contain the spread of the outbreak, upheld the vision of a community with a shared future, and also CPC leadership shared with the world the experience of preventing and controlling COVID-19 and supported the global fight against this pandemic, demonstrating its commitment to serve the people. Ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues and I are very pleased to visit Shanghai. Today we've visited the venue of the first National Congress of the Communist Party of China and the newly built Memorial Hall in Shanghai. We've been deeply impressed by the history, depiction of the CPC illustrated by historical lyrics, photos, and diagrams. It is here where the great start of the Chinese Revolution happened and carried the great dream of the party. Indeed, Shanghai is a birthplace of CPC, a city with red DNA, and trailblazer of China's reforms and opening up. Tonight, we have all heard amazing personal accounts of development story of Shanghai. I congratulate you, Mr. Party Secretary, and the entire CPC family in Shanghai. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude my remarks by assuring CPC that Tanzania in particular, and Africa in general, takes keen interest of what is going on in CPC, knowing that China's success and prosperity is embedded and engraved with CPC. We are happy of CPC's momentous milestone, and I believe this happiness is shared by our colleagues from Latin America, Middle East, Europe, Asia, Caribbean, and beyond. We wish CPC another century of success, and may CPC live longer, larger, and prosperous. I thank you.